Alright, I got a couple of emails here I wanted to read. It's kind of interesting how they came about. My brother was having a 40th birthday. I think I mentioned before, relationships can be really, really tricky. Family relations, friends, the whole thing. Like, God has made it clear, we are to be in the world, but not to be of the world. It's a pretty fine line that you gotta walk. Be in the world, but not be of the world. And as so long as it's up to you, be at peace with all men. Like I said, sometimes it's going to be pretty tricky. So my brother was having a 40th birthday party, and him and his friends, really like to whoop it up, big bonfires and lots of beer. And I just don't I just don't get it. It don't make no sense to me. I don't see the fun in it myself. They find it great fun, and you know what? That's totally fine. Like I said, that's your deal. Go ahead, enjoy it, have fun. But I don't, particularly care for that. The whole idea of, having a bonfire at night and then drinking so much beer that you're puking your guts out by the time the morning comes, and then you have a splitting headache the next day. I don't see how that's fun. I just don't get it, And you ask them how was it fun, and they say, oh well, so and so, he was so drunk that he stumbled and he fell into the fire. That was fun. That doesn't sound like a good thing, but they're all laughing and thinking that's a funny thing, and this guy did this, and everything is pain oriented and stumbling oriented, and they all laugh because so and so made an ass of himself, and that's the whole fun. And I don't get it. But at the same rate, my brother's asking me to be a part of his party, and it's like, how am I going to get out of this? And so I made up an excuse, and it was kind of lame, but I didn't go. And yeah, he was not too happy about that. But in the spirit of trying to be at peace with all men, I thought, I got to make this up to him somehow. So he invited me to his house. I don't know, it was like a barbecue or something. So I went there, and we all talked about four-wheel drive trucks and his vacation property and his Jeeps and his quads and his motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. And, and that was all fine. And but while I was on his deck out and back, it was one of those days where the sky is so blue. I mean, there wasn't a cloud to be found. It was so blue. It was breathtaking. It was so blue. And then in the back of my brother's house yard, he's got these fir trees, surrounding it, and some of them are pretty big. And just like that, I had this poem given to me from heaven. It was given to me by heaven. The whole thing popped into my head just that quick, It was spectacular. And I was just staring at it. And my brother's like, what are you looking at, And I just mumbled, I'm just looking at that tree in front of that sky. So anyway, then I went home, and I thought, well, I'm going to send this poem out to everybody, just so they can see, my heart and everything really is fine, even though I'm going through these tough times. And so I wrote it down. I'm just going to read it in here. I was at my brother's house yesterday. I was on his deck, and he asked me what I was looking at, and I told him I was noticing that tall fir tree with the deep, dark green branches set right in front of that deep blue sky. I want to try to describe what I seen in words that are unusual to the ear, but are delicious to the mind, and seem to fit what my soul actually seen. I seen two lovers today, deep in the embrace of each other's company. They had eyes only for each other, wrapped in the secrecy reserved for lovers. The full assurance of trust and solitude was theirs. Their devotion toward each other was clear. I watched out of the corner of my eye. I tried not to see, but could not help but hear their passion. The other for the one for the other. Out of his great trunk that reached to the heights, he spoke with the baritones of the noble people. I wondered that no one else could hear. She answers with her eyes cast down, a blush rising in her cheeks, and a gentle smile on her soft, moist lips. She is usually wearing a veil. The veil is not so thick that you are unable to make out her beautiful features, while at the same time it is not so thin that her mystery is given away to strangers. There was no embrace for them. They forever are to be separated from each other, and yet fully entwined. He provides a powerful frame that accentuates her deep hues of blue. What passes in front of her cannot help but to be edified by her splendor. Though I noticed she does not possess the wind or the cloud any more than the tree possesses the bird or the bear. Yet both provide strength and comfort and shelter to those above and beneath. As I pondered these things, I understood clearly that the tree and the sky are but afterthoughts compared to the one who set them in their places. The one who gave them their station could have made them ugly to my eyes. He could have made them frightful to my heart. Then, from deep inside me, I heard a memory. I felt his voice say, I chose love, beauty, and kindness in my creation for my pleasure, and as a declaration of my beauty and my greatness. I seen two lovers today, in a secret embrace, whispering wonderful things in each other's ears. That was my poem that I sent out, and you know, it's a wonder. I've often wondered, you know, how do people come up with these things? You know, because they're more than the individual. How do you even put it into words? It comes from heaven. You know, it comes from beyond us. It comes from the supernatural. So I ended up getting some responses to that email. And, you know, the responses went, you know, how do you write these things? You know, you're going through all of these, you know, things, the demonic attacks and financial difficulties and, you know, privations and everything. And yet, you know, you're so eloquent. How's this possible? You know, and then they go on to say, you know, one in particular went on to say, I can't even put, you know, two sentences together, and yet you do this, you know, and it's true, you know, they can't. And, you know, it's a mystery to me how it is they don't see the testimony that's being lived in front of them. You know, they're on antidepressant drugs, they're on or sleeping medications, and they're on all these kinds of things, and they're accusing me of being crazy. And it's like, like I said, I don't bother arguing with them, I just keep on living in front of them. So that moved on, and then I ended up, this was my response to, you know, some of the nice things that they said. Hello all. Just wanted to say thanks for the compliment on that email of mine about the poem, about the tree in the sky. I have never been an artist, while at the same time I have always had a great appreciation for the artist that is able to capture the beauty and simplicity of truth. My favorite painting was done by Edvard Munch. The title of the painting is Scream. The first time I heard about it, I was appalled that someone would spend so many millions of dollars on it. I don't remember the sum. It was a fantastic number. The last time I read it was $120 million for this painting it was sold for. Then I seen it and I remembered my time in that prison of hell. That painting captures something I think every person on earth has felt at one time or another. A horror that I would like to think everyone escapes from. I don't think the man Edvard Munch ever escaped that place, as all of his work is of a similarly hopeless cast. I've always been puzzled by that the majority of artists capture a similar hopelessness. TV, radio, movies, and even daily conversation. Well, just about everywhere the message seems always to be angry and ugly. I do not know how far I will be able to grow in this literary side of myself, but I hope I will be able to shift even more towards the wonder and awe of true beauty. Loveliness abounds, and it is as though no one can even see it anymore. Perhaps I will just close down and be unable or unwilling to put out any more. I am not the master of tomorrow, let alone today. I will tell you how I feel, though. I breathe in the blue part of the sky, and I breathe out rose petals. My heart floats on a sea of liquid light contained by a moat made of crystal. There are galaxies of wonder and planets of curiosity coursing through my veins. My physical circumstance is irrelevant to the thoughts within my soul. Difficulties and ugliness have daunted me to this point of my life, though these days I smell so much life in front of me that it is difficult to imagine anything but change ahead. I do not hope for change as much as it seems a natural consequence of the night passing and the day dawning. Ken.